Hello, I'm Faith, and welcome to Faith's Take, where I talk about anything and everything that I find interesting. And this is my reaction to episode 6 of season 11 of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And before we get into the discussion, let's check out my reactions during the video.
Only your new must-have toy and best friend all rolled into one, and I do mean rolled. Introducing BB Servo.
Waiting to happen. Slap my face on a ton of merchandise.
I want one.
That was practical. I'm sorry, those Lucasfilm lawyers move so fast.
Smash my glove.
Plot us a new course so that cop can't find us.
Even as you speak, it's been taken care of.
This was shot in English, right? Because the dubbing is terrible.
I'd say red hot potatoes for small-time smugglers on the run like us.
I mean, red hot space potatoes.
I would say their outfits are stupid, but even the ones in Star Wars are really silly. We just take them seriously because we actually buy into the story. I did say I wanted more instruments from them. It's like, there's a lot of visual gags in this one, which those are already not my favorites most of the time, but all of them are early, and I understand that some of them have to be, but it's like, for instance, this one that just happened, the Space Church.
Am I right, guys?
The shots were so long, they could have held off a
In
second.
more ways can they rip off? I feel like I'm watching a community theater production of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Christopher Plummer, why?
Lengthwise.
You were in Sound of Music.
Limitless weapon.
Right.
It's big enough
A
to destroy
weapon
planets.
so vast, so huge, that it would take a whole planet to conceal it.
Wow.
Obviously never heard of that before, huh?
Uh-huh.
That is
Only
why
about half
we
a dozen
sent
times by now.
As we left the theater, I whipped up a quick screenplay.
Yes!
World War Space, Episode 11, Attack of the Bad. War is happy. Pre-existing brand awareness means instant nostalgia. Cha-ching! Cha-ching! Princess Lolly. Suddenly, Lord Licorice's troopers attack, each wearing different armor, so we can make toys out of all of them. Pew, 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 pew.
I said this the last episode when Crow pitched a movie. It's like, Crow could totally do big blockbusters. Pretty much what they think of now when they make them.
Release her or I'll blast your queen.
With authentic hickory smoked barbecue flavor. It's old.
You mean the trouble and I'm gonna clean out your sinuses real good, lady.
Think of me as a laser-powered nitty pot.
Oh, wow. That looks like a lot of fun. Can I do that?
Sorry, Jonah, the shot changed.
But we...
Once again, the
Good job saying the shot changed before the flipping shot changed!
I've killed the alien Pathfinder and taken over the ship. What of
That killed him?
For a traitor. I cannot trust my own logic circuits anymore.
God darn it, it just do not compute.
Fooled me too. It's no use.
Give me your hand so I can monitor your temperature.
And the robot is on the board.
Wait, what? How did that
Use my energy to keep your heart working.
But unfortunately, all your other organs will die.
Well, you're the most faithful companion a woman ever had.
And I too respect you.
You shouldn't try taking off without asking me first.
Maybe you should have killed him before you made your presence known.
Please.
Your crappy effects are powerless against me.
Yeah!
Put down the gun.
Prince's face.
We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams. The untimely death of Baymax from Big Hero 6.
Aw.
Oh, vanilla joke. I never thought that a robot shooting lasers at cavemen could be this boring.
Yeah.
Please tell me you're not a southern robot.
Howdy do.
Oh, well, now you're just openly ripping off Spaceballs.
You couldn't even make it like orange.
For my completely original weapon, the illumination toy.
Yeah.
You know this maniac?
Blue. You couldn't even make the saber orange or something weird instead of
Should
blue.
he be done by?
Pre-programmed computers.
Actually, screwing.
Then this is the way they produced real monsters?
Real monsters.
No, not
Oh,
real.
wow.
The monsters never existed.
Who even remembers that
These
show
machines
anymore?
Discharge
Hello, Stella. Hello, guards 4 through 6. Hello, Acton.
Enough. Okay, you were doing so much better with the early stuff.
Do they know under all those laughs, I'm still sad?
It'll be just a matter of wait.
What, would you care to make landfall?
I'll stay here, thanks.
What?
Send into your
Oh, he's friends with Joel in real life.
cave.
I mean, it's cool that they got another, like, pretty famous person, you know, to be in the show. You know, Neil Patrick Harris, 2 episodes ago, and now Jerry Seinfeld, that's cool. But they're not giving them a lot to work with.
Hey, it's like lightsaber was blue before.
Yeah.
Movie, you were so close to being flawless.
Is this track?
Al Gore arrives for the global warming summit. Al Gore continues to arrive at the global warming summit.
And he will leave his car on, so the air conditioning is just perfect for the whole tour meeting, therefore putting the emissions in the air, which he claims to hate. I've lost track of how many visual gags there's been. First of all, Arnie...
Ladies and gentlemen, the Star Crash
I
Casino
don't
in
even know.
association with Steve.
Hooties, blowfish,
Isn't ending, oh my
Bad
god.
blood. Mother's little helper.
and my brother from another mother.
Don't forget Tupac Shakur.
This isn't ending.
I can't think of one.
The floating city.
What?
Star Crash Vehicles presents the Silver Series.
Yeah.
Look, a floating city. Charges and
First time Jonah's gotten upset enough to rip a part of a bot off.
Smoothly, I'll tr-
Tom should not get his head back, or...
L.
What?
And they use the latest component.
Perhaps you don't recognize me with my red arm.
go quickly. Survival of our galaxy is in your hands.
Still, I've been craving you.
She's fine. She'll just swim home through the vastness of space. She's got this.
It's like, not only do the gypsy riffs, like, not only are they usually not that good anyway of jokes, but it's like, I'm sorry, she's not good at delivering it.
Okay, we see you.
Oh, man. Like, they really thought they would get sequels to that. That's as dumb as, like, the new Fantastic Four, you know, like, the Fan-4-Stick movie thinking it was gonna get sequels. Not quite sure how I feel about that one. This episode was good. I don't believe it was as good as the last couple we got. I think that overall they're like hitting their stride. This was definitely better than the first two. Those two were still the roughest for me easily, but 3, 4, and 5 were really good. Like they kept getting better. 5 was really, really good. Like 5 felt like at home with like all the other episodes of Mystery Science Theater. This one I think took a step backwards a little bit. The sketches, again, overall were pretty good. But let's start there, I guess. With the sketches, you know, I like, again, the opening is kind of nice, having Jonah and the bots do just some, like, play a game or do some weird stuff together. It was another bizarre cameo, Jerry Seinfeld. I know he's friends with Joel, so that's, you know, why, I guess, but, you know, again, it was fine, kind of like Neil Patrick Harris. It's like, you get this guy who you really could do a lot with and be super creative with, and I think you could have done a little bit more with them. And I'm still not feeling the Mads enough to really care when they get their own sketch. I'm kind of just like, I'd rather see what Jonah and the bots are doing. When they're like, oh, we're going to give Tom eyes, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be weird and funny. But instead of getting to see Jonah put eyes on Tom's servo, little googly eyes, we get to see, you know, the sketch that didn't work as well for me, as I think it should have. But the one that I was like, lost my mind over was Crow's screenplay. I mean, harkening back to the days of, you know, Earth versus Soup and Peter Graves at the University of Minnesota. That's the whole thing. And for this one, for Jonah to actually be impressed by it was surprising. Is the idea supposed to be that it was actually good, or that Jonah's like really easily impressed? Because I'm not sure. But I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was such a good callback to that. That was awesome. But I mean, overall, that was the only sketch where I was like completely hilariously invested the whole time. The one where Jonah dressed up and they thought he was like the guy in the movie, it worked for like the first 2/3, 3/4, and then it kind of fell off a little for me. I was like, okay, you can kind of wrap this up now, or like find a new joke or something. When it comes to the riffing, overall it was good. I do genuinely think it could have been a little better, and we're back to having way too many riffs too early. And in this case it's 2. Let's not even count the visual gags for a minute. Let's not even count those for a second. There were at least 5 times where just a vocal riff was too early. I think there was one where Tom even was like, well, it was when he was sledding or whatever, and then Jonah's like, hey, I want to do that, and he goes, oh, it's too late, Jonah, the shot changed. He started that line before the shot even changed. Okay, it's like, if that's in the line, if that's the joke, is that the shot changed, wait for the freaking shot to change. Like, because this isn't their fault. Because it's like they do the lines in, one of you informed me, I think I might have said this in another one already, but that they do their voices in a booth, kind of like what Riff Tracks does, because they don't have to have any visuals, and then they go into the theater room and reenact it with the puppets and stuff, like to their, kind of re-riff it, but it's going to be put with their vocals from in the booth, right? So you know that the vocals can be adjusted. And like, as someone who loves editing, I'm like, it is not hard. At least not with, I use iMovie, I use the super basic stuff. But it is not hard to put the sound a couple milliseconds after where you had it originally if it doesn't work. And that is what bothers me so much. When a whole joke was about the shot changing, you can't do it the moment it changes. That just like, no, you can't, no, it doesn't work like that. So that's frustrating. And then it comes to the visual gags. I think my biggest problem with the visual gags isn't even just the fact that they're early. I don't mind fourth wall breaks occasionally, but they're doing, on average, at least one an episode, right? Where it's a visual gag that's too early. The problem here, there were several visual gags, almost all of which were early, a few of which could have been done like a couple seconds later and still would have worked. Like the one where Tom is singing like about Space Church. The shot was so long and he went on for so long, it's like you could have waited to Mississippi just so you could pretend that Tom didn't know it was coming. There are a few where it's like if you wanted to have the joke work, it would have to be early, but there's several where they don't have to do that. And the thing also that gets me about the visual gags, they're usually not that good, in my opinion. Like, I often wasn't, they did them so rarely in the original that it was kind of a treat to see them because it was something different. But at the same time, I never was like a huge fan. I can't think of one off the top of my head where I was like, oh, that's hilarious, I'm glad they did it, And so same thing here, it's like most of them for me don't work that well. They're like okay at best. And then it adds to the fact that it really breaks the illusion in this case. That's just frustrating because they were getting so much better. So few in Avalanche and Beast of Hollow Mountain, like they kept getting less and less and less. And then you're back to where not only were there a ton of visual ones where you didn't need to do that, but there were several vocal ones. One where the whole joke depended on the shot changing. Stop doing this! Ugh, like, I know I keep saying that, guys, but it's like the whole point of the show. The whole, something that people love, it's like something that the guys always prided themselves on. Kevin has said this before, was the fact that people would be like, oh, you guys just improvise, right? Because they don't. Ever since they got the cable on KTMA, they did have to ad-lib, but starting their first official season 1 on the Comedy Channel, they didn't have to improv, they could write it all out. So they don't ad-lib by the time they're in the theater, it's all written and timed and everything. But that was such a compliment to them because it felt so naturally ad-libbed, but these guys are really kind of breaking that illusion. So even if you take out the fact like, oh, it's a show, you should just relax, not only is that the whole premise of the show that they're seeing them for the first time, but that was just something that even the guys really enjoyed hearing. Was like, oh, you guys just ad-lib, and Kevin once said that was like one of the biggest compliments that they could get. And with this one, I'm like, they could so easily get that with most of these jokes. There's a couple where I get why they do it, but it's just, there are just always a few where I'm just thinking, like, you didn't have to do it. I don't mean to make it sound like I could do better, because I don't know if I could. I probably couldn't. But as someone who loves editing and really respects the art of editing, I'm just like, how do you keep doing this over and over? And that's why I think it kind of ticks me off. It's like, my editing is definitely not anywhere near perfect, but it's just when you know that that thing could be fixed so easily, it's like, come on, man. And it's like, it can't even be like, oh, well, then the movements don't match up. Crow's mouth doesn't move half the time. Don't tell me it's because the visuals wouldn't match up. And I think overall the quality of theirs were good, still much better than the first 2 episodes, but I don't think it was quite up to the standard of the last 3, because I really did enjoy those last 3 a lot. They each had definite parts where they really, really, really hit a stride. Overall, like I said, better than the first 2, not as good as the last few. Overall, the segments were pretty good. I had, one that I really loved, and then another one that was good for until about the end, and I was just like, okay, wrap it up. Overall, I would probably give this one a B. It's definitely better than the first 2. But it is not as good as the last 3. So I think a solid B in the middle is just where that would lie compared to the rest of these. I apologize for ranting about that, but like I said, as someone that respects editing, that just kind of ticks me off. I'm sorry, but this is like a professional thing. You got money, you got Netflix, and you can't like... But overall, like, the guys did a good job. Like, their performances were good. Jonah is so earnest. I really like that. He might be my favorite of these characters right now. He just seems like a really nice guy, so I've been enjoying his stuff a lot. But, you know, like I said, B, it's, you know, on the lower half, it's the top of the lower half of the first 6 episodes so far. I'm super excited, though, to keep continuing with the series. I've really been enjoying it. Personally, I can't wait to get to the Christmas episode. I'm so excited. But as always, thank you so much, guys, for continuing this journey through season 11 with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.